my name is Barney Levitt. I'm a Copley Master here at the Copley Society of Art. I'm a realist oil painter and I'm based in Ashland, Massachusetts, where I have a home studio. This painting behind me is called Bluebird Morning. I'm sort of a bird person. I'm very interested in painting birds. I love the variety and the color of birds, and I often feature them in my paintings. And so what I did with this painting, I have shelves and shelves of still life objects in my studio, and I'm always collecting bird nests and different objects from flea markets and yard sales. And so I put together these items, and I thought I liked the palette. I liked the palette of this and the contrast of the red against the blue. I thought really set it off. And for me, the eastern bluebird is one of my favorite birds. And it just has sort of an optimistic feel to me, and that's sort of the idea behind this particular piece. From a very early age, I was always drawing, and so my parents thankfully nurtured that and enrolled me in some art classes when I was really young in my at the local art center in my hometown. And I also had an aunt who was also a painter, and she gave me my first easel and oil painting set when I was about 12 years old. And so I've always been painting and drawing, and I went on to get my undergraduate degree in fine arts. And so, yeah, I was sort of destined to be an artist right from the start. Well, being a realist painter, I am very much keyed in on detail. My paintings are all very highly detailed, and the subject matter can vary from traditional still life setups to quirkier, more whimsical pieces. But a lot of my paintings have a narrative line to them, and I also like to interject humor whenever possible, either through wordplay or visually juxtaposing objects that you would never see together. But yeah, I think the common thread is just the high level of detail in my paintings. I have to say that aspect was the hardest piece for me. I think most artists aren't geared to being marketing people. I certainly am not. And so, yeah, that piece was hard because, of course, I just wanted to be in the studio painting all the time. And I quickly came to realize that no, that is not going to work. You have to learn marketing. And I wish I had some marketing background at school, which I didn't, because I had to sort of basically learn it on my own, and I had to discover that I had to be my biggest cheerleader. No one was going to do it for me, and so that piece was really challenging for me. It's funny, I think my first interaction with galleries was here at Copley Society of Art. I hadn't really taken my artwork seriously up until that point, and then I had friends urging me, because I used to come into Copley Society all the time and just study the work and think I could never get into Copley Society. So when I entered, I was so stunned to learn that I was accepted as a full member, and that really changed my perspective on how I viewed my art. Yeah, it gave me the boost I needed to really take it seriously. I have always been really active in applying or entering competitions, art competitions. It started regional competitions, and I've expanded into national and international shows. I'm always entering work in those shows, and with some quite good success. That was one way that I've furthered my exposure to the public. And also, I have to say that social media has been a huge boost for me, particularly Instagram. I tend to follow other artists and galleries almost exclusively, and so that getting my artwork out and seeing lots of artwork in that venue has been really helpful. For me, having a really a user-friendly website that has great customer service, that's been really helpful to reach an audience that I normally wouldn't reach. Early on was my aunt, who was a painter. I used to love going into her studio, and just the smell of the oil paints and seeing her big canvases was so inspiring to me. And she was always very encouraging of my own work. And then I also had the opportunity at school. I had a professor that was very influential. He taught me the basics of drawing and composition, and his work was somewhat similar to the way I worked. And so he taught me an awful lot, and so I owe a lot to him as well. And then, I am constantly looking at artwork, and so there's contemporary artists also who I find just, their work just astounds me. And I have a list a mile long, but a few I'd mention is our Scott Pryor, who is a local. I think he's in Southampton. I'm not quite sure where he is, but Scott Fraser, also from Colorado. And then there's a figurative painter, Andrea Couch. I think she works out of Michigan, who does these amazing figurative landscapes that are sort of reminiscent of Wyeth, but they're very quirky and have this eerie twist, like a hay wagon on fire in the field, or these figures baking pies with bugs and birds all around. That's really interesting work. So yeah, in terms of influences, I've different artists just really inspire me. The Dutch and Flemish masters, I just keyed into them when I was at school. I just studied the Dutch masters and their techniques, particularly Vermeer. There was something about his work, it just so strikes me. And you can somewhat see it in some of mine, because I do a lot of reflective pieces, and his saturation of color and just his work just really hit me. For me, I think it's reaching as large an audience as possible. I guess the most fulfilling piece for me is when I can react face to face with the public, which obviously this past year has not been possible. And I really miss that, because you really get insight into how people are seeing your paintings and interpreting them. And nothing brings me more satisfaction than to have somebody stand in front of one of my paintings and chuckle or laugh or see something they might have missed, the first time around. And just to get that, immediate reaction is just so fulfilling to me. And I guess, I just hope to be able to keep doing this until my last breath. It is my one great love, and I can't imagine doing anything else.